Thank you all for being here this evening. I'm just going to briefly touch on where we've been, where we are, and where we're going. That's kind of a recap. I've now been employed in this position with the county for 14 and a half years. And we have been talking about radios the entire time I've been here, and it predates me by several years. Going back to the flood of '85, I think that was the catalyst that really spurred radio communication. During that, we were all on, everybody was on a single system, low band. Everybody used low band, one channel, and that was it. Worked great. But I think the flood of '85 really showed the need for additional capacity. So fast forward a few years, '89, 1990, that's when the county implemented, in conjunction with Falling Spring, fire department, they spearheaded it, implemented 800 megahertz. 800 megahertz was not ideal for our geography, but it was an improvement over what we had. It gave us more capacity, gave us more paths to talk. Fast forward again to about 99, 2000, when the whole cellular industry really started taking off. Nextel, a lot of those 800 frequencies had to be relicensed and given to the cellular industry, which put our law enforcement, schools, public works, on UHF 450, which is where they all are currently today. Fire rescue stayed on 800 megahertz and still paging off of low band. We still utilize low band for paging, so we have 3 radio systems right now in Alleghany County that we are maintaining components of. In my vehicle, there's 3 radios, so I can try to talk to anybody I might need to talk to. So fast forward to now. We've been working on this particular project now for over 2 years. Getting things together, making sure that we have the best system for us that we can put together. The radio system RFP responses were due March 17th. There were 2 vendors, Motorola and Harris. Evaluations were conducted by AECom, which is our consultant, county and city staff. On April 25th, we hosted oral presentations and interviews for those 2 vendors here to explain the radio system design and answer questions. And we did have county representatives, city representatives, fire and rescue and law enforcement, and AECom was here also. Final evaluations of the vendors were completed. Harris Corporation was selected for being the top ranked vendor. Harris was notified at the end of May of the award. Since that time, we have been working with Harris and AECom and Covington on system design details and identifying and resolving issues related to final contract preparation. Just last week, the county hosted a formal meeting on August 1st to discuss system design and final contract preparation. Harris, we met in this room. Harris came, we had the sheriff's office represented, had some representatives from the city, face-to-face meeting, lasted about 4.5 hours, I think, that we sat in here and discussed the design, options, costs, ways to save money, etc. And we will be doing at least weekly conference calls with Harris and AECom and all the parties involved from here on out to make sure everybody's on the same page and that the progress is to move forward. John had mentioned a public hearing. Right now, we're anticipating holding a public hearing at the board meeting on September 5th. This is required by the PPEA guidelines. Since we did do this as a PPEA project, the public hearing must be held at least 30 days prior to entering into a final agreement with the vendor. The purpose of the hearing is to advise the board and the public of the selected vendor, project status, and the intent to enter into a final agreement. The final agreement is currently planned, which I hope to be presented to the board for consideration by the November meeting. That is my hope. It may be delayed a little further. We'll have to see if we can get all of our ducks in a row. John mentioned Rockbridge County. We are working with Rockbridge County. Just this week on August 8th, myself and Eric Tyree from the city went to Rockbridge County, met with their sheriff, the county administrator, radio technician for them, City of Lexington manager was there, their fire chief, emergency manager, to discuss what this regional concept looks like moving forward for us and for Rockbridge. They are very eager to work with us. We will be using some components of the Rockbridge system since they are near completion. They're planning to be online by the end of this calendar year. So with their system being in place, we were actually able to utilize some components, which was a cost savings to us. We will draft a formal agreement with Rockbridge, that identifies roaming on each other's system, because it will be seamless. Frequency sharing, and also what responsibility that we may have for Rockbridge for a portion of the maintenance for the equipment that we are using. We're not using their entire system, it's just some components. Saved us a lot of money up front, but to be fair, the ongoing maintenance and upkeep of those systems, of those components in that system, we need to work out some type of an agreement moving forward with Rockbridge. There is also the potential, we discussed with them, for the sharing of a radio technician with Rockbridge. Since we will both be using Harris equipment, maybe there's a cost savings for a person that can service both localities, that would troubleshoot day-to-day maintenance, operation, adding radios, deleting radios, the whole gamut. So we will be pursuing that as well in conjunction with Rockbridge. John also mentioned the potential for bath and body type. Harris is very interested and is going after both bath and body type pretty hard to try to get them on board to try to make this as big a regional footprint as possible, which can only help. Again, that would be, if that were to happen at some point in the future, it would be seamless. Fire rescue, law enforcement crossing county line wouldn't matter. They would not have to turn a switch on the radio. The system would know where they are and route them accordingly. So that is where we're at currently. Harris has proposed it's basically an 8-site, which expands our coverage from pretty much from 2 sites to 8, which expands our coverage greatly. It's an 8-site simulcast trunked P25 system, which is pretty much the same thing that Rockbridge put in. P25 is a standard that has been adopted nationally, that in a nutshell has to do with radio and radio system compatibility and interoperability. That's pretty much the standard. And localities all over the United States are putting in P25 system because a lot of grant money is tied to P25. If you're buying radios through a grant, they require them to be P25 in order to get the grant money. So, there's also a few things I wanted to mention. PFM will give you a breakdown of the system purchase and implementation cost, which is what we're looking at being financed. Also with that would be independent testing, verification testing by AECOM as a proponent for us. Harris will test the system, but as an extra level of assurance, we would also like AECOM to test the system and verify that what Harris says is in fact accurate as far as system reliability, it meets the minimum coverage requirements, etc.
And you'll recall that during the AECOM presentation, we currently run about 48% coverage. The Harris, the request proposals, the technical specifications, The Harris proposal, the contract will require a minimum of 90% coverage. And the testing independent from the Harris testing that Ryan just mentioned is to ensure that the system meets that 90% requirement before we make final contract payment and accept the system from the vendor.
Yes.